Mishmash! Kitbash Corner!
Hey, today is the first episode of a chronicle of my first army. I'm finally kitbashing a Sons of Medusa army. Yes, a lot of you in the comments have been bullying me to do so for a long time now, so with the new year starting, I might as well actually get to it. I've decided to build this army for 7th edition more specifically, but Mr. Bones wants to play a game at Adepticon, so I guess I'm also building for 10th. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to kitbash an entire army in one video, as I'm not that efficient. But in today's episode, I want to go over the conversion and kitbashing of my custom devastators, as well as a dreadnought. I'll also go over my brand new scheme for my Sons of Medusa, as well as any other conversions I wish to make in the future. A lot of yapping in this episode, so get tucked in. But before we get into all that good yapping nonsense, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, share with a friend. Make sure to hype the video if you're on mobile, and if you really dig it, consider becoming a channel member. For just $3 a month, you get to see my videos early, and for $5, you get access to a weekly Q&A stream in which I'll showcase your models. I also get access to exclusive roles and channels within the Mishmash Discord, and above everything else, it just really helps me out. Huge thank you to my channel members, you guys are amazing. And if you want to help me even further, as well as help yourself to amazing products, you can use my affiliate links in the description for Galeri, Wargames Atlantic, and you can use my discount codes to save on your purchase. But enough of the promotional stuff, I think it's about time we talk some toys. Now, as far as my philosophy for this army and what I actually want to build it for, it's not exactly complicated. Essentially, I want to collect every Space Marine model I ever wanted when I was growing up with the hobby. And a lot of these models are actually not for sale anymore. I love this stupid thing so much. And yes, this is an entirely firstborn army. And yes, I'm utilizing the Horus Heresy models to somewhat upscale these tacticals. However, it should be known that I'm not necessarily building this for tournament play or anything sort of competitive-wise. And not that I didn't have any armies growing up, I had Blood Angels, Death Guard, but my goal is to essentially build the army I've always wanted. And yes, that does mean painting vehicles, all sorts of hero characters, and I've actually built quite a few of these hero characters in a separate episode. But my main goal is to simply just make an army that I can say I'm proud of. And this is a good first step. But I think I've yapped enough about my whole idea for the army. I did mention that I'm using Horus Heresy models for a lot of these guys, so let's tie that into our first units that I'll be building. That being my customized devastators. Now, I'm actually coming back to something I've used quite a lot in other previous videos, the Space Marine Rapier Squad. The armor design is incredibly unique, featuring a lot of the old school beaky design with the more pointed elbows and kneecaps. More specifically, the reason I'm using this is they kind of feature a somewhat Iron Handsy look, therefore being a perfect fit for the Sons of Medusa. As for actually converting my devastators, it's really not that complicated. Essentially what I'm doing is building up the weapons as is, and if I'm feeling cheeky, I'll completely carve off the pauldrons to fit on more unique ones. For our first example, I simply just use the body and attach the old school heavy bolter. Though the arms might be a little shrimpy, it's not too noticeable on figures like this. It's just small enough that it's not really distracting, and above everything else, you're not really looking at his arms, you're looking at the gargantuan gun. All things considered, the Horus Heresy Marines really do share very similar proportions to the old tacticals. The only difference is the legs. And that's what I like so much about the Rapier Squad miniatures. Most of them are standing up straight, which gives them a better profile, and that's kind of the one thing that detracts from the old tacticals. Just very squat legs. The only issue I really face in building these guys is having to snip the back. However, if you're familiar with my content, this is nothing new. We do this in almost every Space Marine kitbashing video. But, as a very brief example, this guy already stands out quite a bit. However, you're probably wondering where his helmet is. We'll get to that a little bit later. As for all the other devastators, it's a very simple process and it's essentially the same thing. However, like I said, I will be carving up some of the pauldrons, mainly because my main design philosophy for my Sons of Medusa is a heavy usage of Mark IV armor. Why, you might ask? I just think it looks really cool. However, I will not be using a ton of Mark IV helmets, but we'll get to that factor later on. As for the other devastators, I'm really not doing much more than adding in a few bullet holes here and there to add in a little bit of spice. I'm also adhering to a lot of the older weapons, as I really do prefer the old school rocket launcher over the current tactical rocket launcher. I also thought it would be fun to use the old school posing of the rocket launcher marine from the original Devastator squad kit with the rapier squad. A funny detail of the original Mark IV set is one of the pauldrons simply doesn't have one of the exhaust vents, so I had to slice down one of the techie power packs to actually fit onto the body. And honestly, it's my favorite of the squad. I ended up getting a couple boxes or sprues of the rapier squad, so I have 8 Marines in total, but since I just ended up using the weapons from a Devastator squad kit, I now have 5 extra legs to make 5 extra Marines if I wish to do so. Which I probably will. However, for the Sergeant, I kinda went a different route. I ended up using some legs from the Deathwatch kit that is now out of print, which is insane. That's such a good kit, why get rid of it? But the legs are about on par with the Horus Heresy Marines, so I just ended up using some of the original body parts from the Devastator squad kit, mainly the Mark 8 armor, as well as the Devastator Sergeant power pack. If memory serves, I believe this is actually a bit I used in the very first Sons of Medusa I kitbashed on the channel. Man, what are we at now? 7, 8 kitbashes centered around this chapter? I don't care, they're cool. I also ended up pulling out the same rabbit out of my hat as I did with another kitbash centered around the Sons of Medusa, mainly the Devastator Power Fist that has the logo on it. Why not? Also, for his weapon, I decided it would be a good fit to use the Stormbolter. Admittedly, I didn't really balance the points with 7th edition when I made this figure. I just was egged on by my members-only chat. Thought it would be a cool idea. And you know what? I agree. The arm I ended up using was also from the Deathwatch kit. The techie look and extra tubing really fits for Sons of Medusa, and it gives me opportunity for more complementary colors to the main green. Plus, the posing is just spot on and spectacular. Also for his pauldrons, I actually ended up using the Rapier Squad pauldrons, as they definitely have a much more Iron Handsy flair. So for a specialized character that's the leader of a squad, I felt a little bit more comfortable using this rather than just the baseline Marines. I do want my Marines to follow a more generic design philosophy akin to the regular tacticals from years past, but a little extra special gear for a leader of a squad, that makes more sense to me. However, as for the helmets, like I mentioned previously, I'm not attaching them now because I'm going with Sons of Medusa. Though I do undertake some very interesting challenges for my videos, painting a white helmet on green armor does not exactly sound like a fun time for me. So onto these mounted Citadel pots they go, so I can simply spray them down and paint them separately. Quite a few of these noggins are quite unique and will not be featured in this episode, but keep your eyes out for them, as they'll pop up in later ones. But now that I have a full squad of Devastators built up, I think it's about time we move on to the Dreadnought, this being a classic Redemptor boxnought. I've been in the hobby for 10 years, but I know I sound like a newbie for saying this. Building this kit made me feel sickeningly nostalgic, and though I'll save you from the Primaris hate in this episode, but I will say one thing. Is it not inexcusable how much more customization this model has over the newer Dreadnoughts? How in almost 9 years of having Primaris models do we only have 3 new Dreadnoughts that look identical to one another? And this Avatar bullshit. This thing is stupid to begin with, but how come the Grey Knight's baby carrier makes this thing look like the drizzling shits? Can we just take a moment to ask why GW hates Dreadnought so much? I guess only for 40k. The Ironclad is gone, the classic Dreadnought is gone. Is it not super frustrating to you that the classic boxnought is only resembled in one figure anymore? Well, the Horus Heresy has a litany of different Dreadnoughts, which makes sense, and the only real new one is Saturnine. Come on. How can you look me in the eye and tell me this isn't peak? Okay, rant over. Let's get to actually building the model. On the actual building process of this model, I decided to take a much more tactical approach to it. Main reasoning is so I can paint the main green of the armor separately while having plenty of area to paint the main chassis metallic. A lot of the armor panels actually make it a little difficult to paint the main chassis, so it makes sense to build it separately. However, one thing that I wanted to do that I've tried on previous Dreadnoughts when I first started the hobby was to add a little bit of customization. And the way I'm doing so is by using my Dremel and adding magnets to the bottom of the main chassis, as well as the legs. Well, I actually do a little bit more than that, but the main reason I wanted to do this is to get the classic dreadnought spin. This will also make it easier for traveling. And yes, I'm using my tabletop stronghold magnets. With a little bit of extra dremeling, they work really well for this model. The drill size is around the perfect diameter with just a little bit of extra dremeling to make it fit. Hell, it was such a good fit, I practically could have dry fit it. In fact, I did, and then I lost one of my magnets. So, super glue is definitely needed. In fact, I'm fairly confident I lost a couple of these in this project. Hell, I might be an experienced hobbyist, but there's always blunders to be made. Attaching the magnet to the main torso, however, is a lot easier, as I simply just have to press one in, and it's got nowhere else to go. Another little extra bonus for sub-assembly. Had I assembled the entire torso in one go, I could have lost it very easily. And with the set superglue, you can't tell me this isn't awesome. Yeah, perhaps a bigger magnet would be better for stability, but if I can hold the miniature sideways and not have it fall over, then I'm good to go. I also decided it would be kind of fun to Dremel into the main arm, so I could use multiple different options for the fist. Another little slight regret I do have is I did end up painting the model by the end of the video, but I didn't magnetize the underside for the flamer or heavy bolt gun, so I do have to pick either one if I want it to look good. I haven't picked one yet, but that'll be something I pick when I actually want to play the army. I did end up actually losing one of my magnets in the process, but after I glued in the second one, I would attach magnets to the main power fist, the classic dreadnought hand, and even a rock grinder from the Centurion kit. And yes, I am building Centurions. Another in the pile of future episodes. Also, another little bit of customization I opted to do was to snip the inner piece of each of the guns for the arms. I did end up building a couple of other arms, though they aren't featured in this episode because I didn't really feel like painting them all in one go, so that'll be something that'll be shown off at maybe some sort of showcase later on. However, as you can see, by simply slicing that little bit at the end, I can swap in the plasma gun for the las cannon or the autocannon if I wish to. I then separate all the different parts by simply adding the magnetized chassis to one of my Citadel paint handles and screwing on the main power armor to another one. Thankfully, there's a little circle inside that I can indent on the screw, and it fits perfectly. I think the newer paint handles are definitely better for actually being paint handles, but I do miss the utility of the old ones. As for the main arms and feet, I also ended up using one of my other Citadel pots, and I would build upon the stabilized main portion of the armor by adding in the little head slot piece. I was going to do the classic sarcophagus look, but since I have so many unique helmets, I thought it would be fun to use one of them as a little centerpiece for the armor. Plus, not having the iconic white helmet would be a little off-putting for me. I don't think anybody else would care, but it'd bother me. But now all my toys are ready for priming, so I think it's about time we yap about the painting process. But not before we yap about the sponsor of this video, Tabletop Stronghold, baby. In my humble opinion, Tabletop Stronghold is home to the very best budget carrying case on the market. Utilizing the power of magnets, as we've seen throughout this video, the mag case keeps your toys stable and out of harm's way on your trips to the hobby store. With all sorts of variation in which you can customize your trays, you can hold everything from baseline infantry to gargantuan vehicles and dreadnoughts. And now that I'm building an army, I'm going to be putting this baby to good use. But if you're good on carrying cases, Tabletop Stronghold has got some absolutely baller MDF terrain. And as a nice little bit of sugar on top, make sure to use my discount code MASH25 to save 25% off your purchase. Now that's a deal. Huge thank you to Tabletop Stronghold for sponsoring this video. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, the painting. After priming all the miniatures using some German Panzer Grey from Vallejo, I would begin sponging over all the armor panels using some Caliban Green to establish a nice undertone. Most of my Sons of Medusa schemes utilize some of the same colors, however, I found this to be the best for army building. You can also opt to use some orangey colors for underlying rust, however, where things really take shape is by spraying over the top using Vallejo Model Color Light Green. Yet another color from Vallejo that is almost impossible to find now because they've stopped making it, which sucks. But this color is perfect for Sons of Medusa in my opinion, so I might as well use it while I have it. However, once the color was established, I would spray over using some gloss varnish. I really went heavy with the decal usage on these models, so not only is this surface better for applying decals and making sure that they end up looking more in line with an actual paint job, I also used it as an opportunity to completely wash all of the miniatures using some enamel wash, this being dark rust wash from AK Interactive. I've actually done this quite a bit in recent videos because it's just become one of my favorite ways to apply washes. It adds a lot more intense depth to the armor, and since it's slightly orangey, it contrasts incredibly well with this green. And yes, it does probably seem more intimidating to apply a wash by requiring gloss varnish rather than simply using it out of the bottle like Nuln Oil or some too thin coats. The sheer amount of decals I add to these guys make it worth it in the end. It's really not that hard, and I have to do it anyway, so I might as well use it to my advantage. However, once the wash is completely dry, or at least mostly dry, we'll want to apply just a little bit of white spirits and very gently wipe away the excess using makeup sponges. I highly suggest makeup sponges mostly because they're just so much more gentle on paint. A reason that the Centurions didn't make it to this episode is I ended up using some harsher sponge and that ended up ruining the paint job. Makeup wipes and or sponges are an essential in my book. But man, like I said, I went crazy at the decals and it's really apparent on the dreadnought. But you can't tell me this wash didn't tie everything together. I'm so proud of this little thing, and we're not even done painting it yet. However, once the wash is completely dry, I first start re-highlighting using the light green from Vallejo, and the sharper highlights would be bright green from Pro Acryl, with just a touch of yellow added to it, of course. With those highlights established, I'd then snip off some of the helmets at my leisure, and I would paint each of them a little differently. I was kinda on the fence on whether or not I'd give all my Marines blue eyes, or yellow lenses, or black lenses, but since the Sons of Medusa kinda have different lenses every time they show up, I figured just doing all of them would be fun. After all, I want my guys to look as if they have a litany of different armor types. I think the white and green already established them as a fighting force together already, so I don't think the eyes distract too much. And especially on the Devastators, I had quite a lot of fun establishing some different colors to contrast with the green, mostly yellows. However, I did mention I wanted to give my Dreadnought a nice centerpiece in the middle, so I decided to give him one of the 30k helmets for the Iron Hands, this being the one with the awesome gear crest. This broke off twice during the painting process, but I'm praying that it'll stay on as I kinda put it in a nice locked position. But with the armor painted and the noggins attached, I am left with a hell of a start to my army. I am super proud of the Devastators, but holy crap, this Dreadnought is one of my favorite models I've ever painted. I was really nervous at the sheer amount of decals I added to him, but I'm really happy with how it turned out overall. And it was fun to just add a little variation to each figure to make them their own guy. One of my favorite parts of Space Marines is making them actually feel as if they are knights, each with unique sets of armor and looks and livery. And with the Dreadnoughts, I'm really happy I took the extra time to add in those magnets. Not only does it make him more unique and customizable, it's just nice for convenience. And it really didn't take that long, and it was actually really fun to do so. Plus, all the extra hands can simply sit on the trays in my mag case. And I definitely want to paint more Dreadnoughts. In fact, I think there's an ironclad waiting for me from Mr. Bones. Huge thank you. But I'm really just excited to have all the models painted. The goal/reward I'm really looking forward to with this army is just finally seeing them all posed together. I definitely want to sprinkle in at least one video per month on the army project. That way I can do other funny projects and other game systems that I know you want me to work on, as well as other Space Marines to kitbash, but I think we started in a very good place. And I could yap on and on about this, but I won't take up too much of your time. Hell, I've definitely been flapping my beak enough for one video. So like always, if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, share it with a friend, and remember to mishmash, kitbash, and paint some fantastic miniatures. And you're gonna. I promise. See ya.